it appears that the company is honoring Walt Disney. Well, in one way, maybe it's a way that people don't like.
You know, a little sprinkling of Tinkerbell's fairy dust can make you fly. Get that stuff off of me.
That'll all make sense in a second, folks. Here you go. So we have heard that the company is developing an audio-animatronic version of Walt Disney. This is the first time that Walt has been depicted in this way, although we do know that he's been depicted several times, even in the parks, through like statues like the partner statue, storytellers, and so forth. And then we got an AI version of Walt. That was a little creepy for the 100th anniversary Traveling Roadshow that kicked off in Philadelphia in 2023. Marking the 100th anniversary of the company. And now we're going to bring him for the 70th anniversary of Disneyland to Disneyland in audio animatronic form. Now, it's been very, very contentious for sure. And well, that controversy may have just gotten a little bit worse. There you go. From Disneyland News today, Disney Store releasing figurine inspired by Walt Disney animatronic show. This is by Shannon Ace. It looks like the Disney Store will release a new Walt Disney figurine inspired by the upcoming Walt Disney A Magical Life show at Disneyland, which will feature an audio animatronic of the founder. At this time, the Disney Store website has updated the release time for the now dubbed Disneyland 70th Anniversary Walt Disney talking figure to July 17th. Interesting. On their webpage for the Disneyland 70th anniversary, Disney Store teases the release of the Walt Disney Nostalgia Collection on June 11th with a photo of Walt Disney figurine sitting on a desk. The collection was already released at Disneyland Resort, but without the figurine. It appears the figurine is well, it made its debut date faster than the actual audio-animatronic did, because it was supposed to debut, I believe, in May, and it was pushed back to the actual opening of Disneyland, that being July 17th. So you can see right here, people were sharing this out, but people were also commenting on this post right here. You can see right here, this is Tom Hanks from Disparks right there. Yes, it does kind of look like Tom Hanks's depiction of the famous founder. Larry Ludwig says, this looks more like Tom Hanks than Walt, LOL. These really aren't cherry picked. These are kind of the quotes that have featured this figure right here. Well, it's better than Walt in his stance at Epcot, let's say. Fair enough. Trish Trash.
I can't even imagine putting that one talking. Hey, can I get some privacy in here?
No privacy at all in this place.
Exactly.
Sorry, Orville.
Trish Trash. I cannot begin to express how weird and creepy this is. And then, am I going crazy, or is this Tom Hanks?
It's 100% Tom Hanks.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to go ahead and roll this right here, so I can put together this montage of the figurine himself and Walt Disney versus the Tom Hanks Walt Disney. You guys out in the panel, what do you think? This is a little closer to Tom Hanks? This is a little closer to Walt Disney himself.
That does look a lot like Tom Hanks, which is that's the version of Walt that they would really like to use. Honestly,
it's the version
one that doesn't really control. Exactly. What I want to know is, when are we going to get our talking Bob Iger doll? Yeah, we go. If he wants his Oscars, if he wants to be an image of the company here, when are we going to get one where we can pull a string and make him say whatever we feel like?
I am now going to spend the rest of my days alive trying to hack this thing.
It's actually, look, the Bob Iger building in New York City is actually a transformer that turns into a Bob Iger Megazord.
A fake sustainable Megazord.
Yeah. I am gonna make this thing tell the truth to everybody who visits it.
But every time that you transform the Bob Iger Megazord, it destroys the New York Fire Museum.
Oh, you've got deep cuts right there.
Wow.
Culture, do you think this is what they should be doing with the founder? I mean, I understand they have the license to the likeness of the man. They bought that back in like the 1970s, I think. So they can do this, but should they?
No, I think this is the one and only time I will ever agree with the great grandniece of Walt.
As his granddaughter was who said it.
Was it? Oh,
His grandnephew was the one that was all for it, but his actual granddaughter is the one being like, no, do not do this.
oh, okay. I thought it was the crazy lady that was.
Oh, no, it's not. It's not. What Abigail Disney is the crazy
Abigail,
one.
Yeah.
No, it's not Abigail. It's Diane Disney Miller that had the problem with it. Oh, this one offends me the most. That's Stephen Colbert with a Walt face replacement.
Yeah, and I hate
It's your AI right there.
I hate this the most. Any idea of putting Walt physically in a park now is because of how tainted by the political poison that they have been over the last 15 years. It is only going to be an insult. And that's why they get his facial structure wrong. And they're never going to hit the voice properly. I mean, and again, as much as I enjoyed Tom Hanks's performance, that was all dressed up in modern Disney manners. It's not really what Walt would do or say, or what he may have said. That was also over dramatic. Oh my gosh, I can't say words today. Dramatized.
When he apologizes for smoking.
Yeah, and all of that is just absolute. That's nonsense. And look, if you want to honor this man, honor the actual man, and have him up there smoking a cigarette while he's talking to camera, like he would and put it off stage when he was doing his Wide World of Disney stuff, or or Wonderful World of Disney stuff. We haven't had a charismatic leader of Disney since Michael Eisner, and we won't. These people are so superficial. All they have to do, if you follow Iger's model, all you have to do is be talented at misleading people the entire time. Say a lot of words and say nothing. First of all, the idea that they were doing this is disgusting. The idea that it's done is disgusting, and I think this will have limited interest in short order. How about that?
Yeah, I mean, some people have been saying, oh, they're going to enact virtual queue because the demand for this is going to be so high. And maybe might be initially on the first day, but that's a 500-seat theater, I believe, and it turns over pretty quickly. I don't know if that's the demand will be sustainable, even with the founder Walt Disney featured. But hey, if he freaks out, maybe he will. Marvin, what do you think about all this?
I mean, it's terrible. It's a terrible desperation ploy, flying in the face of his family's wishes. His daughter had previously objected to this when they tried to do it years ago, but now that she's dead, Bob and Josh are just like shoveling more dirt onto her and moving ahead against her wishes. The members of the family that have been paid off and don't actually care about the man himself. At the end of the day, I think I said this when they were like pointing to what his great nephew said, as opposed to what his granddaughter said. And I was just like, I could not imagine if one of my second cousins was like refuting me on something about my dead grandfather that people were taking seriously. Like I could not imagine what a slap in the face that must feel like. It's weird. It's creepy. And apparently, if you ask certain people who, I think one Imagineer's son also said that Walt himself specifically said he did not want this ever.
Yeah. I mean, many Imagineers have said that. Go ahead, Jonas.
Well, no, when you just go down the list, when something like this happens, there's someone in the Disney C-suite that says, which one of Walt's relatives, someone with a Disney name, needs a new boat?
Yeah. Who can we pay off? I mean, they did have an LA Times article, I believe, and a couple of others, because they invited the press out to attend like a behind the scenes kind of thing, in which they had the press actually go through and see like, hey, look, listen, we're very, very mindful of the fabrics that we're using for his suit. We've done copious amounts of research on the guy and all of this. And it's like,
we got his own brand of cigarettes.
yeah, exactly.
And he'll apologize to you for smoking.
We did a little smoke cologne on him.
It's a nasty habit. Like, no, he didn't say that. He was an unapologetic chain smoker who would have blown the smoke right in your face.
Yes,
it's good
that's
for
very
you.
true. I mean, it's like okay. I mean, I guess you're doing the research and you're talking to a bunch of groups and a bunch of historians, a bunch of individuals, all that. But I just can't get out of my head that when Diane was alive, I mean, she really tried to stop any maneuvers like this by the company to go down this path. I mean, Jonas, your thoughts to conclude the story.
Here's the thing. Walt Disney did amazing things for the company and did not want this. He also didn't want alcohol in the parks. There are so many things that are going on in the company right now that he would have been vehemently opposed to. But, and then at the same time, there are quotes out there that can be used in order to also do things that are against Walt's wishes. Was he the one that said that Disneyland is not a museum, therefore put whatever garbage you want to in the park? I forget where that quote stops,
Well, you have to remember that it was people taking the conversational item out of context that lent itself to being abused. And Marty Sklar was guilty of it most frequently before he passed. In fact, in a disgusting way, he misused Walt's quote. I lost a lot of respect points for Marty Sklar and for any of the other Imagineers that when pushed out or forced out or suggested to be out, are much more honest about what Walt's thinking is when it comes to that. His statement about changes was again is taken out of context in disgusting and convenient ways for the modern story group, which in my estimation hasn't disappeared. I don't know. Perhaps I'm wrong. Perhaps the renaming of the group that decided to tear the parks asunder, is operating, under a different pseudonym. I look at the results of what will be Frontierland, specifically at Magic Kingdom, the crown jewel. Yeah, the crown jewel of the crown jewel. And I'm like, this is all a result of political garbage and not a result of, honoring the idea that, the parks always had to adjust.
It's sad to see what's happened to the parks, sad to see what's happened to Walt's vision, Walt's foundational principles and so forth. And I'm not just talking about alcohol, which is bad enough as it is, but just quality and giving the, guests all you can give them. It's just all the old tenets that were passed down from Walt's era, just completely either forgotten or washed away on purpose. And it's really, really sad. At least with this, it's... You're gonna get into trouble, I think. Now, there are rumors that they might not actually have video recording or photography, in the theater, like they may restrict it in some way. That doesn't really hold up over time, I don't think, and it's on the cast member in order to enforce those policies. Good.
No, just buy yourself a pair of the Meta eyeglasses.
There you go.
Have the built-in camera and the adjustment for shakes, and those things are pretty amazing. So right. I don't think they'll have any control of what gets out and how.
This can't be a Tiana situation, because right there, that's where you're going to have issues, as you beautifully point out there, Culture. It's got us all shouting.
Travis Disney!
We're... Yeah, we can't wait for them to also put a POV up on Disney Plus of this thing.
Thanks for watching That Park Plays News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.